Hello YouTubers, Traz here, with another Minecraft invention here. Well, I have a new minecart station here, and this is all thanks to the new lectern that has been added to the latest snapshots. And this particular minecart station has 225 separate destinations, or 225 different tracks it can connect up to. So we're in 19W03C right now, and here's the station in its final form. It's 50 blocks tall. I think actually maybe 49. It's 40 blocks deep, and it's 17 blocks wide, and that counts from like that block all the way out to this block, which is at the other edge. And it basically makes use of 2 lecterns to choose your destination. Basically, you have 15 destinations per page here. Unfortunately, there's only 14 lines per page, so some line, like here, I doubled up number 1 and number 2. You would continue through that on all the pages here. So you find the page with your destination, and let's say we want to go to the veggie farm. So after you're done with the first book, you'll see veggie farm has 5, and you'll go to this book, and you flip to page 5, and you'll see veggie farm. And this number is the page number on the first book that you saw. So if you had picked something on the 5th page of the first book, you would be looking at the 5 row while flipping through this book. So 15 times 15 is 225. That's how we get our 225 exits. You then step on here, get in your minecart, and get sent out to your destination. There are 120 tracks on this side. This side has 105. That's basically 15 times 8 and 15 times 7. So almost half are on one side and the other half come out the other side. And you can come in on the same lanes here. And if I do that, any track will work. You get routed to the bottom, but then you come up here and get nicely dropped off. The minecart is automatically picked up and reused. Basically, it warps through the soul sand here, gets broken by the cactus, gets pushed into this chest, but then these line of minecarts will take it and put it back here in the dispenser area. Since this is only 50 or 49 blocks high, let's validate. We are looking at block 3 here, and the topmost block is 55. Alright, it's 52 blocks high. Alright, slightly wrong. I guess it did change. I have an official version here. I think this was exactly 50. But yeah, I had to make a little modifications. It's 52 blocks high. Has a few features, as in, imagine this is all flat. I just have it open right now so you can see some of the workings. But there's nothing sticking up until you actually call a minecart. If you don't get in and step off the pressure plate, it has empty minecart detection, and the empty minecart will just be recollected. It also has lockout, and this light indicates that. Basically, while the light is lit, flipping the pages on the book won't make any changes to the destination. So while you are leaving, no one can flip a page and switch where you're going. Once the light is back out, it will take a new reading from the books. So how does this all work? I'll show you. Hopefully, I'll remember to include a link in the cards to my previous 64 track minecart station, and that worked off of what I called a spinner, just like this. So let's get that minecart out of my hand. So as I right-click and turn the arrow here, you can see the lights light up, and then we go back to the beginning. This gives you 8 possible choices. So with 2 of these, you get 8 times 8, or 64 possible choices, and I built a minecart station off of that. Lectern, if you don't know, has just been added, or will be added in the 1.14 update, and it behaves similarly. If you see these lights, though, they'll light up from 1 to 15, and you also get a pulse every time you flip pages. I don't make use of that, but I do make use of this, so let's see if I can get a spot where you can see all the lights. Actually, it's probably not a good spot, but note that there is one light lit right now, and if I go here, and then as we flip pages, you can see the lights are lighting up all the way to page 15, and when you hit done, you can leave it on whichever page. So if I hit done on page 10, you'll see 10 are lit up, and if you watch this light, while I don't make use of this, every time you change a page, either forward or back, you do get a pulse. But like I said, I don't happen to use that. So how can we make use of this? Here was an attempt. You can see there's one torch out, and then as I flip these, the individual torch changes, and we can use that to pick a particular destination. In my 64 track minecart station, I happen to use that to let you pick like from one of 32, and then to get 64 you're either on the left side or the right side. But it's hard to well, the problem I had is I don't want to do 225 in a row. That will take forever to get down. So how do I get, I can do 15 in a row, but where do I get for each of these 15 options, I need 15 options. So how to do that? And I remembered a while back I had a minecart station based on falling down. So that's what I decided to go with. But I improved that as much as I could. So let's go back here. So when I have the single torch, I can use that to push a piston out, and then if you're coming along this track, that makes a nice turn off, and then we can just push that back, and it automatically corrects itself. I can then, let's do this here, not that, that. So I can have a piston right next to it, do a turn off now right next to that, and it will still autocorrect as long as I push that back. And that's how my 64 track minecart station worked. Like I said, I had almost 32 in a row. It was 15 or 16 a break, and then another 16, and you can do that from both the left and the right, and that gave me 64. But like I said, falling, you fall relatively quickly. So in fact, you can probably fall 50 blocks in the same time it takes you to ride 10 blocks in a minecart. But how to catch you without causing issue? Like I said, I had a previous station where I had catches, but the catches had to be 3 blocks apart, and I want to get this as compact as possible. So I started playing with stuff like this. You could fall down here and go through a bunch of options, and then the option you want to take can be pushed out, and then you fall, and as long as the minecart lands on an angle, you don't take damage, and the minecart will keep going in that direction. So that works, and hey, we can, because, you know, slime blocks all stick together, well, if we use powered rails, because of directionality things, like they won't connect and form the circles, and yet we can still push these, they don't pop off. But unfortunately, each of these is 5 blocks, so 3 slime blocks and 2 rails, so this is 10 blocks. It's only 2 blocks away from the push limit, so we can't. I was trying to figure out ways of doing at least 3, and you can see when we got pushed, that one went from an angle to being flat, and now it's not. Well, the fact that it's flat means you take damage, and yeah, that would be a problem. But we can do 2, but that gives us problems. Here is, probably should have mentioned this, it's an alternate option for getting a torch. In this case, the torch is lit 1, and you know, as I flip, takes a little bit, you know, to update, but it uses a lot less redstone components. This uses just a few comparators, where this uses a lot of repeaters and torches. You can actually, you don't need this row. This row would have 1 on, and then I was basically had a way to disable them if needed, but it turned out not to go with that specific schema. But so I came over here and played a bit more, and so this is like the purple way over there, except I managed to get a break every 2, so we got pairs of torches except for the last one, and you can see that. So that works, so we can have our 2 different pistons here for the turnoffs, and then a spot so the sticky pistons don't all, or the sticky blocks, slime blocks, don't all jam together. The problem is, it works, it just adds a lot of delay in the circuit, but I managed to work around it. And this is what I came up with as my first attempt. And it works. You pick what you want on the lecterns there. I'm just going to trigger this manually. 1 of these pop out, and then a few seconds of delay to let you get through everything, and we have this big reset thing here. Any minute now. This is almost exactly it's what I used previously in my 64-track minecart station. It's a double piston extender, so that we have this gap here. So you see the double pistons, but it's powered only by 2 lines of redstone, and basically by using block updates, like I'm using this piston here to update those other pistons, and I believe there's another piston here that actually also does provide updates. Yeah, you can see it here, to get them to recognize that they're being bud powered and retract the second time. So this was my initial attempt. Obviously, it's not as fully filled out, but I got some basics, and I was working out how to do the lockout circuit. And then here is my final, all updated version. I got some signs in here, and I was able to reduce the delay a little bit. Over here, I actually had to have a little bit of extra track just so I knew that the torches over here were set up right when this pushed out. So like you wouldn't get here before this piston pushed out, but I was able to rework things a little bit for this version and not need that extra loop of track. So you exit a little bit quicker. What happens is I have an extra delay because it would take a bit for the signal to get down to the end here. So we have a delay in the triggering line every so often here. So let me briefly go through the different circuits here. I was just saying, you can build this underground or above ground. If you build it above ground, you can use these nice up and down water columns to get up or down, as the case may be. And obviously you'd fill in this whole thing. The idea is, yeah, this would be enclosed. You really want this area enclosed, particularly because when these double pistons extenders open and close, it creates a lot of skylight updates. So if there's a roof over it, there won't be any skylight updates, and that will save on some client-side lag. Alright, so how does this work? First, we have this little pink circuit here, and this is just for putting out a minecart and raising this block so that the minecart will accelerate. When you step on this plate, it can be any plate. It doesn't need to be a weighted pressure plate. I just thought it stood out better on this. Well, this dot gets powered, which unpowers this torch, which turns off these 3 powered rails. Then after a small delay, we power this dropper. There's a dropper below it that has a whole bunch of minecarts. So this dropper fires a minecart up into this dispenser. The dropper below puts one back in here. It also powers the sticky piston here that this block is attached to. And so the dispenser outputs the minecart onto the track. Once you get in, you step off of here. The torch comes back on. So you start accelerating. 4 ticks later, the piston retracts, and you're on your way. The whole rest of this runs off of this detector rail. When this detector rail detects that you as a player, or that a minecart has passed over, we've got an edge detector here to limit the pulse to 2 ticks. This here is part of the lockout circuit. So when the lockout circuit is in effect, this gets pulled away, so this can't be powered at all. We have so yeah, the purple here is like the minecart leaving circuit. We have the light blue and orange here. These are both taking readings off of these lecterns. They can be taken through a wall. But you can see right now they aren't going into anything. This here is part of the lockout circuit as well. Once the minecart starts leaving, a pulse comes through here, pushes these down for just a tick or 2. I think it actually is 2 ticks, so that the reading goes into, and we have two memory cells here. If you don't know how this works, there's these 2 comparators. They're both being powered at 15 from behind. So like this has a power of 14 and this has a power of 1. They're always opposites and adding up to 15. So when the pulse comes in, we momentarily turn off this torch, which resets these so that this has 15 and this has 0. We repower the torch, and then we momentarily power this and this comparator with whatever's coming from the lectern, and that decreases this power by whatever is coming from the lectern. So you can see this is 14, which means the lectern is on page 1. So this one gets the value that the lectern has. Same thing happens over here. So then this side we go through and we do the whole pick one torch based on, you know, if the first page, second page, etc., etc. So we light up the individual torch here. The blue sends it down, and you can see every so often it sends the signal down the same signal strength, but every so often we have a double, like here, so we're dropping the signal strength by 1 there, and then we drop it another 1 here, etc., etc., and so depending on what page is, these will retract. Right now we're on page 1, so none of them retract. If I put this to like page 5, and then step on here, you can see now the first 4 of these will open. 1, 2, 3, 4, so we land on the 5th level. And obviously if we were on page 15, we'd drop all the way down to the very bottom. Yeah, so the other didn't want to do that. The other half of this signal comes through here. Actually, I don't need that anymore. Originally, it's keeping things from crossing. But it powers this piston, which just pushes this block up, which basically transmits the signal up to the top from underneath, while still allowing you to put whatever blocks you want around here for decorative reasons. We power here. This, triggers the rest of the lockout circuit, pushes those down. It's hard to notice because it's all tucked in here, but it also powers this. This is non-sticky, so this just pushes this redstone block over, and that is what powers this light and pulls this away. So if we do that, see that gets pulled away. The light is powered because the redstone block is. Later on, this gets powered once we are sure that the minecart is away, and it resets it. And there it goes. So yeah, the signal comes up here, is delayed a little bit, pushes this back down, so we only get a 4-tick pulse up here. It gets delayed a little bit, and then we push these down, which will then pick up whichever torch is lit here and push that piston out. It then comes over here. We have a little delay circuit. Once this is a falling edge detector, or once this becomes unpowered, it becomes powered, but it slowly ticks down. Once it becomes completely unpowered, this is what triggers the reset. So this torch, actually not that torch, this detects there's an item here moving over here. This will get output a 2-tick signal. Some of that goes back to push that redstone block out of the way. The rest of it comes out here, which powers the double piston extender reset wall, and that's all the circuit. Let's just show you that operation at the end there. So you see that? Now this is burning down, and once it does, there was the double piston extender. So that's how this works. Once, I wouldn't call it an issue. I like this design. Basically, as you come back up, back into the station, you come up and you reuse this piece of track here. If you have a very busy station, though, you have people leaving and people coming in, and they could collide. So we have this alternate where the leaving is here, the coming in would come in here, and they don't reuse the same piece of track, so people leaving and people coming in wouldn't collide. The only possibility is an empty cart coming up would go like halfway up here, come down, and then be recollected. And so really this block is the only one where people could collide, but that would be so rare as it almost never happened. There's not a good way to distribute this right now, and even creating this, you can see I used structure blocks to copy it, and it, needed multiple because it's bigger than a single structure block. So I'm just gonna have a download. Hopefully, pretty soon there'll be tools that work with 113 and 114 to let you copy this around. Like even my schematic to command block wouldn't really help because you can only get you need at least 4 schematics at minimum to fully get this, and even then you don't fully get it because a little piece out here would be cut off. Well, 3 schematics. You can make this wider. That's not a problem. That's what I copied over to here, and before realizing I needed more. But you can get the top, but then you need the bottom, and then this little back piece doesn't exactly fit. And then you're still missing this front, but this is relatively easy to rebuild. But I'll just give you the world download. You can do with it what you want. So that's my video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time, hopefully with more interesting Minecraft mechanics. I'll see you then.